You, curious soul of the night, welcome to the night shift, where the coffee is terrible, the security cameras lie, and every customer after midnight looks like a warning sign. I'm bringing you 3 horror stories from people who just wanted to clock in, get paid, and make it home in one piece. So take your break, lock the front door, and please, don't answer if someone smiles from the other side of the glass. I used to work at a small hotel in my hometown, something I still regret. A few months before all this, a hurricane hit our area hard. Houses were wrecked, streets flooded, and most people moved away. The town became strangely quiet, almost lifeless. The hotel was about a 20-minute walk from my house. It was nothing special, just a small bed and breakfast type of place. The kind where breakfast meant soggy scrambled eggs, cold sausages, and dusty cereal boxes. After the hurricane, we were busy for a few weeks because people stayed there while their homes were repaired. But as time passed, business dropped off again. Some nights there were only 8 or 9 rooms occupied. I worked the night shift, 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., and sometimes went hours without seeing anyone. We had a tiny break room for employees in the back. Coffee maker, mini fridge, a table, a few soft chairs. I usually stayed there unless a guest rang the front desk bell. That night started like any other. I was in the back, scrolling my phone when I heard a deep voice from the lobby saying, "Hello," over and over. I stepped out and saw a tall man standing at the glass window by the counter. There was a small opening at the bottom for handing things through. He said he needed towels. I grabbed 2 and slid them under the glass. He snatched them quickly, gave me a strange look, then walked toward the hall. I sat back down and watched him on the security monitor. He was walking slowly, glancing around like he didn't know where he was. Then he began rubbing the towels across his face. I muttered, "What the hell?" He stepped into the elevator and disappeared from the screen. About 10 minutes later, I heard his voice again. When I went out front, he was standing at the glass with the same blank expression. "My keycard's broken," he said loudly. "What room are you in?" I asked. 2C, he said. That instantly made me uneasy. Our rooms only had numbers, never letters. I told him that, and before I could say anything else, he threw the towels on the ground. Slowly, he started smiling, pressing his face against the glass. Then he whispered, "I'm going to kill you." I froze. He said it again, louder, and again, until he was practically screaming it through the glass. I shouted, "I'm calling the police," and grabbed the phone. He watched me dial 911, smiling the whole time. When the dispatcher answered, I described what was happening. But he just stood there, mocking me, repeating everything I said in a weird sing-song voice. Finally, he turned and walked out the door, disappearing into the night. The dispatcher asked if I wanted officers sent, but I said no, maybe stupidly, because he was gone. The rest of the shift dragged by. I stayed near the front desk this time, too uneasy to go to the back room. Around 2 a.m., my relief came in. I clocked out, stepped outside, and started the walk home. It was cold and silent, not even the sound of traffic. Halfway through the parking lot, I heard something. A faint voice from the bushes along the wall. I couldn't make out what it said, but it was enough to send chills up my spine. I kept walking faster. Then I heard footsteps behind me, light and quick, like someone running on their toes. When I turned, the sound stopped. There was a parked car nearby, and I somehow knew someone was hiding behind it. A soft laugh broke the silence, followed by that same deep voice whispering, "I'm going to kill you." I didn't wait to see him. I looked toward the nearest house. A light was on upstairs. I sprinted, shouting for help. As I reached the porch and hit the doorbell, strong hands wrapped around my throat. I felt hot breath on my ear as he whispered, "Die." I thought that was it. My vision blurred, and then suddenly the front door flew open. A man stood there yelling, "Hey!" The grip around my neck vanished, and I fell to the ground, gasping for air. The man pulled me inside and locked the door. He gave me water and called the police. When they arrived, I told them everything. The encounter at the hotel, the chase, the attack. They collected the hotel footage and said they'd track him down. Days later, they called me in for a lineup. 5 men stood behind the glass, all vaguely resembling the man from that night. My hands shook as I studied each face. After a long silence, I said quietly, "It's none of them." To this day, I still don't know if I made a terrible mistake, or if that man is still out there somewhere, waiting for me to work another night. So this happened a little over 2 years ago, and I wanted to write it down so I never forget the lesson I learned. It was 2023, and I had just started a new job at a small roadside motel. The pay was awful, but I needed an office job badly. One of my friends, Michael, got me the position. For a few days, I trained with the owner in the mornings, and then for 2 nights, Michael showed me the ropes. Our shift ran from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., mostly checking in guests and doing paperwork. Nothing exciting. A few days later, the owner and his wife left on vacation, leaving me alone on the night shift. It was my first time working completely by myself. The office had big glass windows, a clear view of the parking lot, and a security monitor showing the whole property. Unlike most motels, there wasn't a night window, so anyone could walk right in. Around 1 a.m., as I was filling out paperwork, a man walked in and asked if we had any rooms available. Usually, my boss told me to lie if someone seemed sketchy, but he looked normal enough. Without hesitation, I said yes. As I was typing up the reservation, I noticed him swatting at the air and making strange, spitting noises, like he was surrounded by flies. I tried to ignore it, gave him his key, and he left for his room. A few minutes later, I heard a loud bang. The man was back, slamming his hand against the glass door. My heart jumped. He cracked the door open and leaned his head in, glaring at me. "I can't get into my room," he said. "Why won't you let me in?" Trying to stay calm, I replied, "Maybe your key isn't working. Let me give you another one." The look in his eyes terrified me. There was something wrong about him, like he wasn't fully there. I handed him a new key, and he left again. I texted Michael for help, but he didn't answer. Moments later, I saw the man trudging back down the stairs. Panic shot through me. I ran to the back office, locked the door, and grabbed my small pocket knife. Through the thin walls, I heard him shouting, "Hello? Why won't you let me into my room? Do you not like me?" My mind was racing, but instead of calling the police, something I should have done, I tried to handle it myself. "I'm just on the phone," I called out, pretending to sound calm. Then I heard him again, this time muttering to himself from the bathroom, his voice low and furious. "Kill her, kill her." My stomach dropped. I was shaking. When he came out, I forced a nervous smile and said, "Your key was broken earlier. I'll walk you to your room." I kept the knife hidden under my long sleeve. He agreed, insisting on walking behind me. Every step up the stairs made my heart pound louder. He stopped in front of a random room door, not his. I said, "Oh, that's not your room. This one is," pointing a few doors down. He'd been trying to get into someone else's room the whole time. Once he stepped inside the correct room, I bolted back to the office and locked the door. Only later did I find out the room he was trying to open belonged to a woman traveling alone. The thought made me sick. The next night, the man came back again. This time, I kept the doors locked and told him we were fully booked. Later, I told my boss everything, but he didn't take it seriously. I worked there for another year and saw a lot of strange things during those long nights, but nothing as terrifying as that man who looked at me like I wasn't even human. I work in the pro department of a home improvement store. I usually close the registers with another cashier I'll call Nicole. She's one of the kindest people I've met, quiet, polite, and incredibly beautiful. Because of that, she gets hit on by a lot of the contractors who come through. Usually, it's harmless, flirty compliments, a dinner invite. But it makes her uncomfortable. Nicole has a girlfriend, though she prefers to keep that private. When I first suggested she just tell them she's gay, she said, "It's none of their business." Nicole and I became close friends. Working those long night shifts together made time pass easier. We'd talk, laugh, cover each other's lunch breaks. It felt like having a sibling around. One night, after I came back from lunch, Nicole told me about a creepy guy who'd been flirting with her. She said he wouldn't take the hint, even after she politely told him she was already with someone. He eventually left, but she said the encounter made her skin crawl. I just brushed it off, figuring it was another pushy customer. Later that evening, the same man came back. Nicole was helping a customer in another aisle, so it was just me at the counter. He looked normal, clean-cut, maybe even handsome to most women. But something about his demeanor felt off. His eyes darted around before landing on me. "I'm here to see Nicole," he said flatly. I asked how he knew her, and he told me he'd asked her out earlier, and she'd said yes. He was there to pick her up for their date. That immediately didn't sound right. Nicole had clearly told me she'd turned him down. So I lied and told him she'd already gone home for the day. His smile vanished, and he stared at me, expression tightening. "I want to talk to her again," he said, contradicting his earlier story. I told him that wouldn't be possible. He crossed his arms and demanded to know why not. I didn't want to out Nicole or mention her girlfriend, so I said the first thing that came to mind. "Because she's my fiancé." That stopped him. He looked me up and down, his face twisting into confusion, then contempt. "Her? With you?" he asked, voice dripping with disbelief. I said it didn't matter, that she and I were getting married soon, and he needed to leave. He glared at me, silent for a few seconds that felt much longer, then turned and walked out. When Nicole came back, I told her everything. After describing him, she confirmed it was the same guy. She found the fake fiancé story funny, even thanked me for coming up with it. She said she'd rather be engaged to me than go out with him, which I think was her way of saying thanks. A couple of weeks passed. We'd both moved on from the incident. Then, one night, after closing, Nicole and I were finishing up, taking out trash, counting cash drawers, and locking up. It was already dark outside when a loud bang echoed from the entrance, making both of us jump. We turned toward the doors. The man was back. His face was pressed against the glass, eyes wide and wild. I shouted through the glass, "We're closed." He didn't move. Instead, he shouted back that he needed to come in. Nicole yelled for him to leave her alone, but he screamed, "I'm not here for her. I'm here for you." Then, in a voice that made my stomach drop, he said, "If I take out her husband, she'll be mine." That's when it clicked. He was talking about me. I told Nicole to run to the manager's office and call the police. She hesitated, but I yelled at her to go. I stayed there, terrified, but trying not to show it. The guy started slamming his body into the sliding doors, rattling them so violently, I thought they might break. I didn't know if he had a weapon. Company policy meant we weren't allowed to carry anything for self-defense. I felt completely helpless. Then Nicole came running back, this time holding a 2x4 in her hands. "The cops are coming," she shouted. The man froze, glared at us one last time, then stormed off into the night. When the police arrived, our closing manager showed them the security footage. The man was arrested a few days later. I never learned what happened to him afterward. And honestly, I don't want to know. Neither of us felt safe working there after that night. We both ended up finding other jobs, and now we're in college together. We still hang out, laugh about how we accidentally became engaged, and try not to think about how bad things could have gone. Nicole once told me she was glad I was there that night, that having a guy around made men like him less bold. I told her I was just glad she grabbed that 2x4 when she did. It was a terrifying reminder that when some men don't want to take no for an answer, things can turn dangerous fast. Still here? Thanks for listening. If you want more longer horror stories, subscribe and turn on notifications. And if you're ready for the next nightmare, tap the next video on screen.